Knowing the unit circle is absolutely crucial for success in trigonometry. But guess what? You don't have to memorize the whole unit circle. I'm going to show you how to look at the unit circle where all you have to really know is the first quadrant and then you'll know the rest. Check this out. All right, guys, let's see how we can actually not necessarily memorize the whole unit circle, but just memorize a few key points and then be able to translate it across the whole unit circle. This stuff is to me it makes trig fun. So we're going to start off labeling the degrees on the unit circle. So you have 0 degrees, which is 0 radians. Then you have 30 degrees. Sorry, let me erase this. I need to make it probably write it further down. So it's 30 degrees, which is pi over 6 radians. You have 45 degrees, which is pi over 4 radians. Then you have 60 degrees, which is pi over 3 radians. Then you have 90 degrees, of course, which is pi over 2 radians. Then you have 120. And I want you to notice something as we keep on going around here. Basically, if you look, so we've gone up 30 degrees, then we went to 40. So aside from the 45-degree angles like here, then you have but just notice this. 45 degrees is 45 degrees from it to 90 and then from it to 0. So then we can go and trace that over to this point on the other side of the unit circle, which is also 45 degrees away from, the 90 degree, and then also from the x-axis, which on this part is 180 degrees. So what happens is you can kind of trace these degrees a bit from depending on whatever axis you're looking at. It can help you to know where the corresponding angle is in any different quadrant. Okay, so like look here. So if this is 30 degrees, this is actually also 30 degrees away from the x-axis. So this is actually going to be 150. Okay. Now let's put some radians on here. Also notice this too. So so check this out. So if this is pi over 4 degrees, we come over to the corresponding pi over 4, which is here. That means we're going to be pi over 4 from the x-axis back over to this point. So that you could call that negative pi over 4, or you could recognize this is actually 3 pi over 4, because if this is pi over 4, that means this is 2 pi over 4, pi over 2. This is 3 pi over 4. This is 4 pi over 4, which is just pi. Okay? So all I'm doing is using the other angles that we've already marked to help me to know how to label the angles here in the second quadrant. So this angle over here is 150 degrees is actually 5 pi over 6. 5 pi over 6. Because if you look at it, if this is pi over 6, then 60 degrees is 2 pi over 6. 90 degrees is 3 pi over 6. 120 degrees is 4 pi over 6, which is just 2 pi over 3. 150 degrees is 5 pi over 6, and then 180 degrees is 6 pi over 6, which is pi. Okay. Now, before I go and label the rest of these angles, I kind of want to show something. I'm going to erase a lot of this that I've put here, this extraneous stuff. But again, the main thing I'm trying to illustrate is you only need to know quadrant 1, and it'll help you to trace, whatever degrees and cosine and sine and all that kind of stuff. All right. So now, Let's talk coordinates. This is the unit circle. Unit means 1. So that means the radius around the whole circle from the center to the edge is always 1. So that said, here at the beginning, starting at 0 degrees, we have the x value is going to be 1. The y value, since we're at the x-axis, is 0. So now let's come up here to the top. The coordinates here, because we're on the y-axis, x is 0 and y is 1. What about over here? The x value is -1, y value is 0, and then, yep, you guessed it, here the x value is 0 again, but the y value is -1. Those are very easy. Now, let's go to 45 degrees. Again, you may have already memorized, you know, the first quadrant. Matter of fact, let me write first quadrant, second quadrant, third quadrant, fourth quadrant. So let's go here. So you may have memorized, and if not, you can do it now. The x and y values here are √2/2, √2/2 in the first quadrant. Now, let me go ahead and write this in a different color. In the second quadrant, x is negative and y is the same. I'll just say positive. Okay. In the third quadrant, and just look at the way the x y axis is. Third quadrant, x is negative, and since we're below the x axis, y is also negative here. And then in the fourth quadrant, you have x is positive and y is negative. Okay. So that said, we just marked um, x and y for 45 degrees. Okay. Or you could say cosine and sine. Okay. So what is corresponding over here, which is, you could call this, um, and I think I might have said something a little incorrect earlier, but it's okay. So just like 45 degrees here is 45 degrees away from the x-axis. 45 degrees over here, in other words, 135 degrees is 45 degrees away. But here we flip the sign. So if over here is positive √2/2 for x, here x is negative, so that's negative √2/2, and then the y or sign stays positive. Okay. Now here you flip, both of the signs are negative. So here's 45 degrees away from the x-axis. So you have negative √2/2, negative √2/2, right? And then here, 45 degrees away from the x-axis, you have positive √2/2, and then negative √2/2. Okay, so you see, I didn't have to memorize those. I could just know the first quadrant. Okay, let me circle these so they're more easily seen. First quadrant, second quadrant, third quadrant, and then the fourth quadrant. Okay, all right, good. Now we have 30 degrees and we have 60 degrees. 30 degrees. So think about this. If you can't remember, because you have 1/2, at some point cosine is going to be 1/2. At some point cosine is going to be √3/2. At some point, you know, sine is going to be √3/2, and then cosine is going to be 1/2. The thing to remember is this: the square root of 3/2 is greater than 1/2, because the square root of 3 is a little bit bigger than 1. That said, you know which one of these, depending on how close you are to the x or the y axis, will help you to know when cosine is √3/2 and when sine is √3/2. Now here, x is bigger than y, right? Because we're closer to where x is at its maximum here at 0 degrees. So that said, x is going to be root 3 over 2 before y is equal to root 3 over 2. Okay? So therefore, here is where x is root 3 over 2 and y is equal to 1/2. Okay? Because x is a little bit closer to its maximum here. Now, at 60 degrees, they switch. So now you have the x value is smaller, so it's going to be 1/2 this time. And then the y value is root 3 over 2 because it's getting bigger, it's getting closer to its maximum, right? And now we can go and use the first quadrant to mark the coordinates for these other degree angles. So for 120 degrees, you have the x is negative, so it's going to be negative 1/2 root 3 over 2. If you're looking at 60 degrees here. If we look at here, 150 degrees, you're going to look at the corresponding angle 30 degrees over here. So it's going to be negative root 3 over 2 and then positive 1/2, right? And then what you can do is, here's another way to think about it. If I look at 150 degrees, I come around over here, which is exactly 180 degrees. It's halfway around um, the unit circle. So what is 150 plus 180? That's 330 degrees. Okay. Halfway around the circle in radians is pi over 2. So what is 5 pi over 6 plus pi over 2? So that's going to be 3. That's 5 pi over 6 plus 3 pi over 6. Yeah. So that's going to be this is 8 pi over 6 or 4 pi over 3. And now the coordinates, the magnitude of coordinates are going to be the same, but the signs are going to be different. X is going to be positive, so x is root 3 over 2, and then y is going to be negative 1/2. Okay. Okay. Let me come over here. This is 210 degrees. So that's 210 degrees, and because it is pi over 2 away from 30 degrees, that's pi over 6 plus pi over 2, so that's 4 pi over 6, which is 2 pi over 3. So this is 2 pi over 3. Okay, all I did was add here, since I'm sorry, yeah, pi over 6, and then you go over the unit circle exactly pi over 2 radians to 210, and you add, so that means you add pi over 2 to pi over 6. So that's 4 pi over 6 is 2 pi over 3, okay? And then the coordinates, we just take note of first quadrant. We know that x and y are negative, so this is negative root 3 over 2, negative 1/2. And so then you can pretty much see from there how you can label the rest of the angles and the rest of the um, coordinates, if you will. Okay. So I'm going to save that here. Maybe that's a good exercise for you to do, to come back and to fill in the rest of these. Okay. Now, as I said, you don't have to memorize the unit circle. If you can just remember the first quadrant, then you're good. You're good. My teacher in trigonometry, when I took it in 11th grade, was excellent. And I remember her giving us a piece of paper with this unit circle on the um, XY graph, and having us label it. And I've remembered it ever since then, decades later, because it had such an impact on me. It helped me to understand it so well. So let me know if this has helped you memorize the unit circle. If you need more guidance, if you want another video with me filling in the whole thing, including quadrants 3 and 4, I'll do that. Just comment below. Okay. Thank you guys for watching. Hey, thank you for watching this video. If you need math tutoring or you need SAT math help, look in the description to find out how you can sign up today. Also, don't forget to like, share, and subscribe so you stay in touch with Math Swap Tutoring on YouTube. Have a good one.